Welcome to Brain Wellness, the podcast. I'm your host, Mandy NP. Each episode will bring you a new topic or interview related to brain health and wellness as part of my mission to help you on the path to a healthier, happier brain. So, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Brain Wellness, the podcast. My guest today is half of the team of Devann Edwards and Xaye, co-founders of the Total Freedom Network, who are expert accountability consultants dedicated to empowering high-performing leaders and professionals to excel through structured accountability and strategic planning. Their processes are designed to help leaders effectively eliminate self-sabotage, elevate energy, and achieve success while maintaining an aligned and fulfilled life. Thank you so much for being here, Devann. So we talked before we started. We'll give Xaye an excuse today because she's doing some nonprofit work. But thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. So my first question for everybody is always I like to know people's backstory. What got you into what you're doing now, and how'd you get interested in brain topics?
Yeah, so for me, uh, I guess I've been had the entrepreneurial spirit at birth, so to speak. But all my life, I've actually wondered what is the potential of humans, like what's like how well they can perform. But I was always good at other stuff as well. I was always good at reading poetry and like I was able to merge the scientific with the artsy world. And all my life during like education, I would be I'd be like, of course, a good student, da da da. And when it came to choosing what I wanted to do to study, it was between drama and theater studies and sports science. So so that's a very interesting dynamic. But I chose sports science because that's something that I knew like I'm gonna be studying this anyway. So why not just go ahead? And so I went ahead and did that. And whilst I was studying, I was actually exposed to entrepreneurship. I was exposed to the world. I mean, it enabled me to travel. Went to Las Vegas. Went to different places in America, all over the world. Um, and it was still related to sports science. It was still related to um, psychology, is still related to nutrition, is still related to the economy and the choices you get to make in this thing we call life, these lifestyle choices we get to make. And because I'll be honest, even though I was studying sports and exercise science in university, I knew they weren't teaching me everything. I just knew it. So I would do extra studies. I'm like, okay, I could there were certain things they wouldn't even allow me to do a dissertation on because it's not in the curriculum or it was very wild. And but I still pursued it anyway. And so I did a certification for holistic health practitioner. So I did that, and I explored the brain. I actually talked to some of the world's top doctors. One of my close friends, Dr. Bob, shout out to Dr. Bob Rukowski. He actually educates a lot of health experts and doctors around the world. He's a neuropathic doctor, naturopathic doctor, and I want to say that it put me on the right path because what I knew is that health was wealth. What I knew is that I wanted to grow myself. I wanted to have an impact on others, and I was able to do that. I was able to do that. I was able to find opportunity, which allows me to monetize what I love. I was able to find products that are sustainable, are good for my health, that align with my my chemistry, my brain chemistry. And so it was a win-win situation. Plus, I actually on the way met my love, Xaye. So and we met at a business conference and 7 years ago now. And so it'll be our anniversary like next month, I believe. Yeah, next
Oh,
month.
happy anniversary.
So and so yeah, I would say the journey this journey towards brain wellness, the journey towards a healthier lifestyle, um it's kind of like the path that I've always meant to be on. I'm always meant to be on. And when it came to one thing I knew about myself is that I was always disciplined, and I realized that not everyone else is like that. And if one loses, we all lose sometimes. And that's where accountability came in because we was in different communities and some people weren't getting results. And I'm like, so how come this is working for me? How come this is not working for them? And we wanted to because we received the correct guidance, I would say. I was like, they're missing out. So like what can we do? What can we do? And so accountability was that niche that we're saying, okay, we're gonna do accountability and we're still gonna add the holistic wellness aspect to it so that people can still individuals, leaders can still operate at the highest potential whilst being accountable and prioritizing what actually truly matters to them. And if they can't really grow themselves if they don't know themselves. And so that's why we merged the two. And so accountability consulting is the way we are going and the way we are we're just here now, basically. Yeah, doing that.
That's a very unique path, I think, going from adding all those different things in there, being the entrepreneur, figuring out why do we even do the things that we do? Why are some people able to do this and why are some not? So that definitely helped you to get where you are now. And I love finding out the why because it makes so much more sense of what you're doing and why you have
Mhm.
the passion for what you're doing. And I say that every week, but it's true because when you get that passion about that curiosity and looking into something, and
Yes.
that curiosity is what keeps pushing you forward.
Most definitely. Yeah, I'm very curious.
Mhm.
I'm very curious. So it I don't let things pass me easily. I always see the opportunity. I don't, yeah, sometimes I don't even go looking for it. I guess in some ways I'm actually wired for it.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that, but I'm literally wired towards opportunities that are going to serve me for my best good, you know? And
Yeah.
so it's very interesting.
Yeah. So as you say that, it kind of makes me think, why are some people wired like that and some people aren't?
Hmm. Okay, so here's 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 what I believe it is. So it not only stems from our childhood. There's two ways. It stems from our childhood, all the major events that happen in our life, but there is also something within us. There is something within us that, and when we know who we are internally, but there's a power within us that we get to like tap into. But there's something that we call a default. I like to call the human default programming that we come into life with. And so when we all have this human default programming, and what we don't realize is that some people are this happens on a neurological level, literally. So so what I like to say is we have this term called cognition. So cognition is basically just the use of conscious mental processes, and you have so I like to do talk about like cognitive education where it comes to attention, learning, your memory, your thoughts. We all came into this life with these attributes, factors, and some of them are developed more than others, and some of us we just innately have these memories that we carried within us into this life. I don't want to get too esoteric but but some things you can't dispute. It's like how did you know this? I was like, I just know. But also what you don't work on, it also flees. So when we're young, we have these memories, we have these internal aspirations like these just drive, but sometimes it's pushed down, right? It's pushed down, and we result to this human default programming. And this is in our neural network. And there's actually a study. I want to see if I can get the study up. So there was an MRI scan done, and it showed that brain functional connectivity in what we'll call a default programming, but they call it default mode network, is associated with self-efficacy in young adults. So what's self-efficacy? Self-efficacy is the individual's belief in the ability to complete a task or achieve a goal. So whatever confidence we have, whatever influence has been exerted over us from our environment, whatever motivations we're pursuing, whatever goals we're pursuing, they come through us on a neurological level. And our neurons actually they get affected a lot. Like I want to say shout out to the neurons because if it wasn't for these neurons, like we would be all going Mad Max on this world right now. For real. But when it comes to our neurons, when we're taken away from the things that we love, let's say that when we're taken away from the things that excites us or makes us move, want to thrive, we lose that neural connection. When we lose the physical connection, we lose the neural connection. And so that decreases what we call our neuroplasticity. And so that's those things that makes us anxious, that and makes us depressed, that makes us um not even demotivated. It makes us it brings on all these attributes that we don't actually want for ourselves internally, but we're agreeing to it because there's just so much of it now in our programming. And so I guess that's the longer version,
Oh,
but it's the longer version. But that's why we need to reprogram our mind. That's why we get to increase what we call our neuroplasticity and actually rewire ourselves and fix ourselves. Because now we're not where we are in our childhood, where we operated based on circumstance. Because again, as children, we was just doing what the parents told us, or was doing what the guardians put upon us, but we didn't get to make the choice for ourselves. But we get to a certain point in our age where we're now making the choice, but we're responsible for the circumstances that was created, um, unfortunately. So then we get to fix our body, our mind, our spirit. And that's what I believe the divide is. I believe that, okay, it stems from our childhood trauma, but it's also internal.
mhm. So that's where that accountability piece comes in then, right?
Exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So how do you go from that to taking accountability and making that next step?
Yeah, so ooh, that's a good question. That's a good question. So I believe there's about three factors. Let's go with that. So education, training, and environment. So when it comes to the education, of course, we all have what we call our cognitive abilities. So our cognitive abilities are, again, that's as I said, attention, learning, memory, thought. And so when these things are not stimulated and directed towards what we want in our life, let's say if we make a list, it's we have our health, we have our mental health, we have our emotional health, all of this, families, relationships, self-care. We get to identify what that looks like for us. But if we're not educated on what was affecting what that looks like for us and what's actually affecting us in the first place, we're not even going to be able to identify what we truly want, or we're not going to even be able to identify what's really going to move us. Because that's why sometimes we get agitated a lot because we don't during the hustle and bustle we don't give ourselves time to actually say, okay, but what do I want from this? What am I getting from this? Is this intentional action that I'm taking? Is this purposeful action that I'm taking? Is this inspired action that I'm taking? And so when it comes to our cognitive education, we are educating ourselves on the mental actions that we want to take. Because again, it all starts in the mind. Learning begins and ends in the mind.
Mhm.
And so we need to be educated on what's actually going on in here before we take action on what gets to go on out there. And so that's when the next piece comes into training. And so training, of course, as we know, mental action, but we need to take some physical actions as well. So what we doing to train our mind? Are we reading every day? Are we doing some puzzles to stimulate our brain? Are we learning a new language? Talking with people that are actually gonna make us think, you know? Like, but how are we training? What does that look like? Are we exercising? Literally, there's a study where exercising is a better cure for depression than those antidepressants. And I believe that because I mean every time I feel like if I'm sensing if I sense overwhelm, or I might feel stressed, or I might feel like nothing's going my way, I exercise
Mhm.
or sleep. I like my sleep. I like my sleep. But
Sleep is good too.
sleep is important as well. Sleep is
Oh,
important as well.
absolutely.
And so I think that connects to the next thing, which is environment. Because and I don't just mean physical environment now. I mean your internal environment. What are you putting inside your body? Is it what is you have a good level of nutrition? Are you hydrating? Because okay, so your brain is the most nutrient dependent organ in your body, is the most energy dependent. Why are we not? So if it's the most dependent, it's more dependent than our lungs, our heart, and all of that good stuff. Why are we not? Firstly, why are we not nourishing it, our brain? Why are we not feeding our brain? Why are we not fueling our brain? It doesn't make sense. But if we was educated on on this, then we would move differently, wouldn't we? We would actually now that we would because we know better, we will do better. And so that's where we embrace the responsibility because we know now. And then when we embrace the responsibility and create systems and structures around that, that's when the accountability piece comes in. But we always need a helping hand, is what I believe.
Mhm. I love the knowing better and doing better part. We hear that a lot in society now, right? But
Yeah.
we need to take that on ourselves because, as you said, when we learn about ourselves and how we can do things better, we can always be a better version of ourselves. And
Hmm.
that's how we do that. And that's what you do on a regular basis. Just help people become better versions of themselves. So knowing is half the battle. Then you have to do the workouts. And I love that you brought up the exercise being more effective too. And having worked in neurology as long as I have, it's a thing. Like I have talked with so many patients on the fact that they need to exercise because that's how you get out your stress. That's always been my stress outlet
Yeah.
until I had a head injury last year. And then I haven't been able to do my exercise. So I
Hmm.
don't have that same outlet. And I can feel that kind of pent up stress because I don't have that way to get it out.
Yeah.
Do you find that when you're working with people that you?
So yes, we had there was we had a client that was ADHD.
Mhm.
Um and so his brain's always like he's always got there's always an excuse for not doing something. But it's like I think what we found is that the education his education was different. So because let's say maybe he didn't have the money, or some this happened to him, um he went into maybe victim mode, right? But victim mode for someone with a growth mindset is usually opportunity mode. What do I get to learn from this? And so sometimes you have to walk walk people through walk people through their process. But if you don't understand their process, you can't walk them through their process. So so I mean for me, I mean I'm not ADHD, but I've suffered from overthinking and depression and all of these things. So I see signs and I see where I've personally addressed them. For me, my journey is a bit weird because no one actually like when I even was in depression, like no one helped me through. I literally forced myself out of it in a sense. And I forced myself out of it. I used music as therapy, sound therapy. I used. to help me with my depression. Um, when it came to overthinking, it was me bringing on more nutritious foods. So nutrient. So again, the brain's nutrient dependent. So I had foods that was gonna nourish my brain, so I can calm my nervous system, you know, and also taking in more light. I don't the people don't understand really
Mm.
talk about this much, but we have what we call neuroendocrine transducers. So our eyes are a transducer for a lot of information, and information is light. So if we again, that's why the sunlight is good. So when we absorb the sunlight, it not just nourishes our skin, but it seeps into our cells as well.
Mhm.
And so light is has been therapy for me. Also candles, I love my candles. And see, but what we also realize is that food has information. And so what I use is let me see, where is it? Oh, it's over there. But so there's a herb known as Ganoderma or reishi, and this is what we call an adaptogenic herb. So it adapts to the body's needs. All right. And so it's good for vitality, it's good for nourishing the brain. And within that, there is something called mycelium. And mycelium is the neural networks of the earth. But you can actually get that in its natural form that will support your brain. And so what happened with me is that this was helping me nourish my brain and creating a protective layer. So again, preventing that neurodegenerative processes happening, because you don't want that, do we? You don't want that. and so that was helping me nourish my brain, but creating a protective layer over me. And because I'm very body intuitive, I knew the difference. I knew that it was helping me. And so I was hydrating as I was doing it. Um, and I've been doing this for years. But then this year, which was very interesting, is that I actually got concussed. I don't know how you say it. I had a concussion. So I went to Jamaica. I was I'm responsible for this, by the way. This is my fault. So I was in the gym. I didn't identify what this medicine ball. It's like a 10 kg medicine ball.
Mhm.
They thinking about it, I'm not gonna lie, it gives the flashbacks. So I bounced it as hard as I could. Mandy, man, it it bounced up, hit my jaw, my lip busted, my
Oh,
jaw like literally lifted itself,
oh,
and the side of my eye, literally, like my whole mouth was concussed. This was my first day in Jamaica.
oh my goodness.
My first day in Jamaica. And it healed in 2 weeks.
Good job.
Yeah, my jaw and my lip healed in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then my jaw, I mean, it took its time, but within like the next 2 months, I was like, okay, I need to go get a scan. So I went to go get the scan, and of course, I doubled up on what I usually do to get my get myself in gear. I had more. I made time for more rest, prioritized more sleep. I prioritized better nutrition. I prioritized less screen time, less blue light, all that stuff. Prioritized training my brain. We'll get to that. Um, and what it was so weird because I phoned up the doctors. I was like, oh yeah, I'm still waiting for my scan. Like, anything what happened? And they said, no, nothing. Nothing wrong. There's nothing good. You're all good. I was like, what do you mean I'm all good? I mean, I know I feel better, but like, what do you mean I'm all good? So I went there and so and nothing's happening. So I was like, okay, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. But what I realized is that I mean I'm not gonna shout out them, but I think they misdiagnosed. And so they was more focused on what was going on in the integrity. So the integrity of my face came back, like because I got a strong jaw, so the neural connections, the neurons around my brain, around my eyes, they re-strengthened over time. But there's that memory of it that still has a little trick, has a little, it causes a
Trigger.
little reaction, trigger reaction. And so I'm like, okay, I'm partly healed from that. But this is a part of my cognitive ability that I still need to work on, that memory side. So again, I ask myself, okay, so what can I do? And what so I ask myself, okay, what could it be? And it's over the in the in short terms, overstimulation. And so sometimes when it comes to the brain, it's good to stimulate it. It's good to train. It's good to educate yourself. It's good to nourish your brain, but don't overdo it.
Yeah.
So, for example, like I work from my laptop, work from my computer, but I take strategic breaks. I time block my breaks, right? Because I'm responsible for my health. Because my health, as I established from the beginning, so as a foundation, my health is a priority.
Mhm.
So if I'm doing actions that go against that, is not in alignment with what these things I prioritize, my self-care, no, you can't do that because you established that. And so what happens is that when it comes to accountability comes from the habit of directing your discipline towards what matters most to you. So you have to develop the habit of directing that. So I developed the habit so that when these events happen, I have a reference point. I have a foundation that I can go upon. And that's why a lot of people are not really accountable in their lives and their health and whatnot, because they didn't establish it from the beginning.
Mhm.
They didn't care enough for their body or their mind, body, spirit enough to put a system in place that's going to support them no matter what. Because we often hear, like, in the financial sector when it's like, oh, you got to have you have your Roth IRAs and your pensions and your bank account. But okay, yeah, you got this bank account. You ain't got no emotional bank account. You ain't got no physical bank account. You ain't got no brain integrity, brain wellness bank account. Like, what's in those bank accounts? Because they might be empty. You might have to do another check on your list of what's actually working for you, and what's actually supporting you, and not just the finances. Because health, your wealth is nothing without your health. You can't do anything if you're out of commission, pretty much.
Right. And I think that's where we, as a society, whether you're in London, I'm in Minnesota, but
Mhm.
it's the same effect on us whether or not we take care of ourselves. And we often forget that I often bring my patients back to remembering that when you ride in an airplane, those oxygen bags come down. You need to take your own first before you can help somebody else.
Yes,
Because if you don't get that oxygen, you can't help anybody else get it on there. So
facts, facts.
you can't fill from an empty cup. Another little metaphor on that one. But if you're not following and taking that accountability for your own health, nobody else can do it for you.
Exactly. And that's the hard. That's I don't believe it's hard, but that's what can be perceived as hard by a lot of people, because we're constantly just fed information like we're babies, or fed this information as if we can't fend for ourselves.
Mhm.
And that's a disservice to who we are as human beings in the first place, because this don't underestimate the human body, please.
Right.
Do not
Right.
yeah, your mind puts you in these prisons sometimes, and you need to manifest the key or something, and just
Yeah.
open the door to this nonsense that you've trapped yourself in. And it's you know what, it's very interesting, is that when we actually focus on our brain health, we actually can make our life much easier.
Mhm.
So you don't even have to. This is controversial. I mean, it's easy. It's easy, but you don't even have to believe that you can improve your brain.
Expand on that one.
You don't have to believe it. And so this is where guidance comes in. So when you're this, did I meet myself by accident? Oh gosh.
Nope, nope, you're good.
Oh yeah, I'm good. Okay. Yeah, so this is where the training aspect comes along. Where is that you don't have to believe in yourself, but you can trust in someone's guidance. You can trust in proven facts that it is possible.
Mhm.
You might not fully believe it, but if you actually just take these actions, you're gonna get better.
Mhm.
1% a day, as they say,
Mhm.
But you're gonna start to, is it day one or is it one day? Which one you decide? I don't know. Is it,
Mhm.
are you 1 year? Or is this gonna be the year one? I don't know. Which one is it gonna be? You have to decide. But it's easier to trust people to help you with the solution than to start believing and thinking, oh, I've got to figure this all out myself.
Mhm.
But the caveat is that you get to follow the right information. You get to follow information that will actually serve you, and internally that it might serve you. So as I said, remember, food is information, light is information. Not all light is good. That blue light is gonna catch you. If you're not careful, that blue light will catch you. All
Oh,
right.
we spend
That
way too
red,
much time on it.
but that red light, I was like, you'd be surprised. Oh, red light. Oh, red light. Oh,
Yeah.
really? Red
It's
light?
funny you mentioned
Okay.
that because I've actually
You
gotten
is
into the red light after my head injury. And that's one of the things that helped me get better was red light
oh.
therapy. So you mentioned the whole thing about light being kind of energy and information, right?
Mhm.
It's what the way we explain it in the red light world where I'm working currently is that it's like we are just big versions of plants. Plants need light for photosynthesis. They take that light, they turn it into energy in their cells. It goes all the way down to their cells. Light goes to our cells, like you mentioned, down to the mitochondria level, and it works on that mitochondria to create energy. We're just glorified plants. We need light and we need water.
Literally, like everything starts on a cellular level.
Mhm.
Everything,
Mhm.
and you're like, and that's why it's so important for your brain because, like, of course, you said mitochondria. Mitochondria is like that's that energy source that, like, on an intracellular level, you need that for that's gonna go directly to your brain.
Mhm.
But like, if you have the right things if you have the right information to fuel that, the information is gonna travel faster.
Mhm.
It's gonna travel more efficiently. I promise you, a pack of crisps, or what you guys call it, chips, right?
Yeah.
Chips. Potato chips. I think we over in the UK we call it crisps.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I don't know why we call it crisp, but yeah, potato chips. The potato chips, it's gonna travel to your brain, not in the way you expect it.
Mhm.
Over time, it's gonna start dulling you out,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so, what information are you putting into? You're not gonna give. I mean, you can't really do that anyway, but you're not gonna give a plant crisps, are you?
Right. Even if you could, you wouldn't.
I
That's not what they
mean,
do.
that's just weird. That's just weird. You can't. You're not gonna inject it. That's you might be a mad scientist or something. I don't know. But but yeah, again, we're made from the same essence of these plants as well. Because the plants are sentient within themselves. Yeah, research shows that the plants are sentient. We're sentient within ourselves, but we just don't know it.
Mhm. Mhm.
What if we knew it?
Mhm.
Is it that's the fun part because and you'd actually want to because when you know it, you're gonna want to be accountable for yourself.
Yeah.
So what we realize is that a lot of people know they need accountability, but it's usually the leaders in their lives or the high performers that they are ready for it because they know themselves, right? And so I like to have this play on words where your 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 yourself. is your cells, like your cells, self cells. And so it's like, oh yeah, duh. It's like your cells is that internal version of you, and then yourself is this identity that you present to the world. But internally, everything you are is your cells.
Mhm.
Everything you are is yourself. But are you educating yourself? Are you nourishing yourself? Are you what are you giving yourself? Like you're not when you're accountable, you're more likely to make healthy decisions. You're more likely to exercise regularly. You're more likely to have sufficient sleep. Why? Because you know it's going to positively impact your mental well-being. So, and also when it comes to accountability, I think the piece that I think it actually supports the brain health is that it promotes self-reflection and like learning from your mistakes. So again, we're not all perfect, right? But we all have an internal desire to contribute. We all have a desire to grow personally, to improve our performance. But we don't often have that nudge. And so when we get that nudge to be like, yeah, you can give yourself permission to take ownership of your actions and decisions. Like you have permission. You have permission because you never had permission before. Like you did what you was told, but if you're like because again, this is not for everyone because there's certain parents that they know their children, they know that and let me put a disclaimer, healthy minded parents breed healthy minded children. That might be a stinger. That might be a stinger for
Mhm.
some people. That might be a stinger. Because what you have, what you eat is gonna you're gonna pass it on to your children.
Yeah.
Your habits, you're gonna pass it on to your children. Your disciplines, you're gonna pass it on to your children. And so you can't don't be mad at the teachers in school when you bring them to school because you set the foundation. It's all about foundation. And so even when like that's what even with why me and Zay work so well together is because from the beginning, before when we got together in a relationship, we established a foundation first. It was like, okay, what do you want in your for a spiritual life? What do you want for your health? What do you want for the future finances? Like we have a vision. So anytime we're in breakdown, anytime someone wants the well, most anytime there's some disputes, there's a reference point.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reference point. I will add on to this as well. I don't know if you heard about. I don't know if you heard about this. Is a study done ages ago, but it recently got brought up again. And I think it was. Have you heard of Spain? The Spain project.
Can't recall if I have or not.
SPA. So it's the scale of positive and negative emotions project.
Yep.
That was done. It was like 2009, but then another country did it in 2010. Another country did it in 2013. And so the project was to study authenticity. And it was in these multiple studies, it was found that authenticity is the highest frequency of human emotion. And it actually vibrates at a frequency of 4,000 times higher than love.
Hmm.
So, and it was a psychological assessment that was done to measure the frequency and intensity of a positive and negative emotions. So I was like, oh, snap. So I look back at this study and I was like, human emotional experience. That is crazy because this ties back to accountability. Remember I said accountability is predicated on you prioritizing what truly matters most.
Mhm.
You own you only do that when you're being your authentic self.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, I got it. I was
Mhm.
like, oh.
That's one of those light
So
bulb moments.
I know. And so it's like authenticity is the highest emotional human emotional experience. And then so I'm all about structure. So we like people to have the experience. We like people to have a life that's authentic to them, that they're doing was true to them,
Mhm.
but it also gets to be structured. And so I'm big on time. I'm really big on time. And for me, I don't know if you're like into like quantum physics or whatnot, but a little bit. So what it's my belief that time is a structural experience. So you people, a lot of people say like you have, oh, I have a lot of time, I don't have enough time. Okay, but how are you structuring your day? How are you structuring this experience that you're caught up in? Like some, when people spend like 50 hours on the problem and then 0.1 hours on the solution.
Mhm.
That doesn't make sense. That's the worst use of your time, because that's not in alignment with the experience you want, and it lacks structure. Like you wasted time
Mhm.
because you wasted the experience you actually wanted internally. So you're being inauthentic with yourself. And the thing is, it impacts your negative emotions, but then that negative emotion impacts your brain. So then now you're wondering, oh, why am I anxious? Why am I depressed? Why am I confused? Why am I confused? Why do I feel claustrophobic? Why do I feel constricted?
Yeah.
Because you're in a deep rest emotionally. That's what depression is, a deep rest. You're in a deep rest emotionally. So we get to just be real with ourselves. We get to be authentic with ourselves, because I mean I could go on and say, because I've had like a lot of experiences that really shifted my mind and opened my eyes in ways where I was like, I can't unsee what I just saw.
Mhm.
But what I can do moving forward is make sure that this is in alignment with me. This is actually serving me for my highest good, because I'm on this planet with a mission. Like I have there is purpose behind the purpose,
Mhm.
but we have behind what we're doing. We're not just on social media for the fun of it. Sometimes we're not just speaking to your audience just because maybe we're passionate about it. There are experiences that we had that are shaping the experiences that we get to have. So I'd say that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I've had something similar because of my head injury. So
Mm,
as a provider in neurology for so many years, I was at the top of my game. I thought I knew all the things that I needed to know. And then I was doing all the things that we tell people not to do. I was exercising probably more than I should have. I was working way more than I should have, not sleeping as much, but I was eating well. So I was
mm,
doing some of the things. So I practiced some of those things that I was preaching about eating well and trying to maintain exercise, but the sleep part I wasn't doing. And like I said, working way too much. And then the accident happened and it forced me to stop and think a little bit.
mm,
And now I've had time to think about what is it that I really want to do. And I think that kind of lines up with a lot of what we've been talking about today is figuring out what it is you want to do, really look at what's serving you and what do you need, educating myself about those different things, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
then trying to figure out what else can I do to make this a better situation, looking for the positives, like you mentioned earlier. What can I gain from this experience? And it just gives you a different perspective when you take that time and do that. Unfortunately, I've found in my practice and in practical world, people wait until something catastrophic happens that
Yeah,
forces them to do that.
yeah.
How do we get people moving before they have that catastrophic event that they have to do this, but something that they can do maybe a little bit more preventatively?
So here's this is an interesting question, because this is that same issue, so to speak, that I had to get myself over. Because I knew what the problem was. I knew what the solution was. There was times where that happened, and I was like, you know what you need to do, Devan. Why are you playing? Why are you playing? Stop playing games. Stop playing games. And so this is this is something that's going to require. So this goes back to the human default programming, the default program that's going on within ourselves. And so again, this is actually I've got there's actually a PubMed study on this. Like this is actually tested. So conscious thoughts actually override the brain's autopiloting system. So do you remember I mentioned,
Mhm.
I'm going to go back to again to the cognitive education. Thoughts was one of your cognitive abilities. There's a deficit in your thought process on a cognitive level. That's why that's happening.
Mhm.
There is a deficit in your thought process. You get to get educated on your thought process, then you get to consciously override it. How do you do that? For me, I didn't realize it, but I had to do affirmations. I had to really like, but no, affirmations where it's gonna direct me.
Mhm.
So I'm not gonna say, "Oh, I am going to the doctors." No, I didn't just say I am going to the doctors. This is an example, but it's like I'm going to the doctors because I get to know myself better, and it's gonna help me make better decisions to be a better person. You see how that the story what we're telling ourselves,
Mhm.
we can see it because of how we're saying it, and we build up that. So we that's something we get to say to ourselves like in a proper sentence. Don't just say like I am this, because again, sometimes the emotion's not tied with that.
Mhm.
But if you make it a tangible experience, like put some structure in that sentence. That's what you're taught in school. You write the sentence. So why don't throw the baby out with the bathwater now that you're left. You know, and it's very important. It's very important. So doing that helped me. Um, so this is another maybe controversial take, but sacred geometry. Okay, so here plants um plants have helped me a lot. Look, not just like being in nature has helped me a lot. Looking at plants, but also looking at geometrical pattern geometrical images, so to speak. So as I'm looking in that, as I mentioned before, our eyes are receptors. So whatever we're looking at is going to impress upon us what direction, what kind of actions we can take or get to take. So I like to have vision boards, or I like to have sacred geometrical patterns where it's like it's stimulating my eyes to really cause like some positive energy to pop up. Or maybe I'm looking at a pattern of my root chakra, or maybe I'm looking at a pattern of my heart chakra, but having some music in the background to just get myself in that, not only that emotional state, but in the state. So it's a whole setup. Sometimes it has to that's how it has to be sometimes, because you have to a force emotion doesn't only stays emotion unless interrupted by an outside object or force.
Mhm.
But you have to create those conditions. You have to create that environment around you, and not only internally, but you have to create that mental environment so you can actually get off
Mhm.
on it. And also, and you so that's what had helped me. What had also helped me is, so this is a funny one, because responsibility. Um, so I think a lot of my growth is, you know what? Shout out to Xaye, because a lot of some hard lessons have happened, of course, being with her. I mean, during the 7 years, not because of her. That's, let's not go there. Um, no, but she's been with me during times where it's been really hard for me getting to grips with myself and getting to grips with like my potential as well, because there was times where it's like, okay, I'm my like your words have to be aligned with your thoughts and your actions. So sometimes it's like you might feel under I was let's say in a depressed space where I was like why am I even doing this? Like no one wants what I want, or no, like I'm not getting the results, but I mean I'll keep going anyway. Um but it's knowing why you're doing it and taking responsibility for knowing why. And so my why, as again a reference point, my why was doing this for my future family, like doing this for to to see Xaye again, or to um because looking around, the awareness, expanding my awareness was key. What is where I'm getting to, because looking around at my family, I'm like the black sheep, so to speak. But I'm also the one that has the information that they need. So I'm like, I'm a steward of this. So I'm like, okay, there's a responsibility. So there's now like this extra push. Like I don't need no one to motivate me, because I've I've given myself enough reasons why, and they're strong enough to compel me to move forward. Like I don't take, for me, it has to be inspired action. And so whatever's gonna saturate your thoughts, whatever's gonna saturate your energy to move in the space that you get to make, you get to move into, do that. But it has to serve you though. It has to serve you. Don't do anything crazy. Like don't disclaimer,
Yeah.
precaution.
Don't do things just to do things. Do things with a
Exactly.
purpose.
Yes. Enough you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Intentional action all the way. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So, for sake of time wise, do you have one or two things you would say for people that need to get to that accountability stage? What can they do today to start down the right path?
Mm. So you know what? I would actually invite them to our event series that we have. So we have an event series called Creating Excellence, how to eliminate self-sabotage so that you can elevate your energy and lead your work and life to achieve success, or whatever that looks like for you. And so we're all about personal fulfillment. And so it's a free event series. You're gonna hear from different experts around this topic. And what we realize is that even when it comes to brain health, every aspect of your life, the reason why something is not coming together is some form of self-sabotage. But we have whoever hasn't identified what that looks like
Yeah.
for them. And so www.totalfreedomnetwork.com/creating excellence. And so that's www.totalfreedomnetwork.com/creating excellence. And that's gonna be a nice education piece to open your eyes to maybe something that you didn't know about yourself, or something maybe didn't know that you needed to work on. Because what even before the accountability piece, we believe that it's best that you know yourself. It's best that you have a vision for your life, so then whatever plan that we can create for you, if you decide to work with us, is really gonna support you. But we do have 6 month accountability plans. We have what we call our empowered life performance blueprint program, where we incorporate the holistic wellness that into everything. And if anyone watching this wants to reach out, we do maybe I can give you a link to a survey to just do like a little brain
Okay,
health
sure.
survey, because we have within our program we have a cognitive training system. It's a proven cognitive training system, so you can train your brain for 6 minutes a day, and it's proven to help within 90 minutes. So that's probably like 30 sessions of 6 minutes. And so for me, I give my testimonial. I within the first 15 sessions, I experienced 109% improvement in my cognitive function. And so we have these what we call these 3D glasses. It's so cool.
Yep.
And what we do is that you track. I have to identify some balls on the screen. It's like a game in a sense,
Yeah.
but it's really training your brain. Like a lot of high athletes use this. Um, yeah, a lot of high performance athletes use this system. And so yeah, we offer that as well if people want to do a subscription or if people want to just take the free trial. If you want to take the free trial, reach out to us. If you want to just take the survey and then we can send the free trial after you take the survey, then that's okay too. But yeah, we believe in holistic wellness. We believe in empowerment. We believe in accountability, and accountability is what's going to bring everything it together. And it's in we call it it's like an amplifier because without accountability, you're not gonna be able to continue what you get to do for a long period of time. It's all good with the shorts and stuff like that, but it's all about that long form. It's all about that longevity.
Yeah.
And don't sleep on longevity because I mean, why would you sleep on it? It doesn't make sense.
Good
But
question.
yes,
Good
yes,
question.
yeah.
Yeah, I would love to include those in the show notes so people can find that. And then you guys are on all the social medias. I think they sent me links for all that: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, all of those. So I'll put those
Yes.
on the show notes as well. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the listeners as we wrap up today?
Hmm. Yes. So so I like to say connect to the knowledge that will empower yourself. And how do you connect to the knowledge that will empower yourself? You get to have an appreciation of yourself. Um, because appreciation over anger, what I mean, it's a higher vibration. It's good for your heart to appreciate, but you have to appreciate yourself first. And when you appreciate yourself, you get to know yourself, right? Then you get to grow yourself, and then you just get to explore these different possibilities and potentials that you have within you because you're not you don't have to be lacking you don't have to be lacking in energy. You don't have to be lacking in stress because there's a solution to everything. And so I've come to believe that there's a solution to everything, no matter how deep you feel you may be in a rabbit hole, or there is always a solution, but you have to connect yourself to the knowledge that will take you out of that problem. And so again, I'm here as a steward of this planet to help like raise the vibration and just really get people being more accountable to themselves, more authentic with themselves, and so that they can really live a life of fulfillment.
And I think that's a great way to end our show. Thank you so much for being here, Devan.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Brain Wellness, the podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to subscribe, like, and share this with others to help me continue on with my mission to help people live healthier, happier lives. Go to www.brainwellnesssolutions.com to see what I'm up to and get links to all the social medias there. See you next time.